Hello and welcome to the Futro Hidden Movie Gems podcast. I'm your host, Ty Spiker Christensen.
Blew out my ears, you bum.
Hi, Spike, the audio
Wait,
Christensen.
Did I spike it? I'm sorry. I didn't check the settings this time, but just getting used to it, guys. Okay. Whoa, Door City over here. Am I right? And we've got Jordan Christensen on the pod.
Oh, you're quoting the show.
Of course I was.
Did you know it comes from a satanic background? I Googled it and nothing came up.
Why don't you give me a list of all the possible things that could be construed as satanic? So
Next thing I know, oranges. I'm going to bring home oranges from the grocery store and say, those are satanic.
I couldn't.
Did you know eating feces is satanic? Satanic origins. Look it up. Oh gosh, guys, today we are reviewing.
Whoa, where's my intro?
Oh, excuse me. Well, you quoted the thing. Cameron Mickle on the podcast.
44, New Beginnings. Christ is crucified on 33.
Yes.
That guy, I know someone like that. Like exactly like that. He sings signs and symbols and coincidences and numbers. It's like 11:22. That's a sign. It's scripture, prayer. You're like, okay, I guess every day when it's 11:22, it is anyway. I have a hard time with people like that. They see it's cool. Like whatever gets you through the day, I guess. Who am I to judge? So, guys, we're reviewing the Rehearsal. This is a TV show that hit HBO Max this year in 2022, or excuse me, last year, I guess. We're in 2023 now. 2022. It was created by Nathan Fielder, and it stars Nathan Fielder, Journey Baker, and Anna Lamadrid.
And impersonators of Nathan Fielder.
and actually, that was the other thing I wanted to ask you was, we're strictly talking about the Rehearsal, or I guess we can talk a little bit about Nathan for You.
We'll definitely talk about Nathan for You.
Okay, yeah, it's impossible to talk about this without mentioning
the other.
Especially the finale of Nathan For You, where I feel like he got the inspiration for this show. And I thought that was interesting you mentioned that, because it's a short film. It's like an hour and 30 minutes long. And the last episode is just out of nowhere. But you see that I think he found something else that he likes doing even more. But it's also more heartfelt and more gut-wrenching too. It's very interesting. This is a crazy show, guys. So we're going to get right into it. What was it like watching this movie, or sorry, this series, either Nathan For You or the Rehearsal for the first time and rewatching it for the podcast? So for me, I was shown this last time I was in Utah with you guys. Jordan showed me 2 episodes of Nathan For You. It was the episode of The Rebate, which is a really good one to show people that haven't seen the show. Just a bunch of people trying to get rebate on their gas. They end up going to the side of a mountain, hiking this mountain just to get like $10 back on their gas. It takes them all day. They end up camping overnight on this mountain for $10 back on their gas. It's nuts. And the folks that go up there with them are crazy. So it's a great, it's like it's like shedding a light on people. I don't know what to call this type of show, but both Nathan For You and the Rehearsal is like, it's the most real reality TV show I've ever seen.
Well, besides Borat, I think Borat is also.
I want to talk to you about that actually, because I think this show does a better job at exposing people more than Borat. Because Borat sometimes, to be fair, there are some characters that just lay it all on the table, but some of them it's just like their reactions to the highbrow or lowbrow comedy, where it's like, like, I'm surprised he did that, and that's fine, I guess. Like that's always funny. But this one's like, he gets people to go along with the lie, or gets people to go along with this shenanigans. It's crazy. So anyway, I think Nathan Fielder is one of the most brilliant minds of our era. I really believe this. I think he just sees things differently. I think the way he thinks about things it's almost like an alien came down to observe human beings and he's taking notes. That's what it feels like. He
reminds me of Dan Harmon. He can just see things 3 steps ahead and behind, and he understands, and it's like he can see things before they happen, and he essentially can manipulate people's emotions, and he's like, oh, and like it's almost like as soon as he hears something, he's like a bell's ringing in his head. He's like, oh, I can get an even better response, or I can pull something out of it. Like her about the Halloween thing, he can dig more out of them because he knows what to ask. Because too many people might either break character. Was it you, Ty, that said he's literally the old man in Prestige that's waddling around?
Yes. Okay. So I just brought this up to my wife again. I'm obsessed with this. So Nathan Fielder, I watched an entire like hour and 30-minute video. I'll have to give credit to who that is. I'll find the video before we're done with this episode. But this YouTuber made this video about Nathan Fielder, and like, who is Nathan Fielder really? Like, he carries this persona like in his personal life too, but there's definitely some leaks in his story because this is a married man. The episode where he does The Bachelor and Nathan For You, he acts like he's not good with girls. So like he has a girlfriend, he has his own reality show, he has his own comedy show, but he fakes a reality show inside his comedy show. There's so many layers to this guy, and I think he's more brilliant than he lets on. I think he kind of plays the humble up part a little bit. He plays like, oh, I just want to have a human connection. I think he's got plenty of connection with his closest friends, but he plays it tight to the chest because this is like a charade. Like, he used to love doing magic. This is a charade that's going on past the performance of the TV show in his personal life. Okay.
I wonder if he was watching The Prestige and he's like, I know
that's
what
it,
I have to do.
Dude. It's when Christian Bale watches him, he goes, that's the magic trick. He goes, what? It's an old man getting into a carriage. He goes, no, he's making us think that he's an old man, that he's not capable of doing this type of strength of feats of strength, but he really is. And that's Nathan Fielder. Nathan Fielder has like photos of him looking like alone and sad, like that he was dejected, and like it's like all those photos were planted. Like, he did them recently. Like, it's all about this facade. Anyway, I just think not only is that like funny to be like a fake person online and on your show than in real life, but on top of that, taking a step further and allowing people in the show to shine just as much as you. Like, he doesn't necessarily always steal the show, even though it is his show, it's created by him, written by him. He allows the people that are wrapped up in his, what was I going to say?
Were you going to say shenanigans?
Samantha. Yeah. What am I trying to say? Wrapped up in all of his crazy schemes, and to go along with it. And I think he really allows other people to shine. So it blows me away. And so I now rewatched so many episodes. I've watched all of Nathan For You. I've watched The Rehearsal twice. The show is crazy. So, and really, a whole range of emotions. One of the funniest things I've seen, gets me to cry. It's a gut punch. It really is. And I want to talk about that more. So Cameron, Jordan, how about you? Let's go to Cameron. What was it like watching it for the first time?
Yeah, Cameron, I'm curious. Did you get even a tear, maybe? One tear? No?
Cameron's like, what a dumb kid. So stupid. Stupid kid.
Jordan was like, the entire time was just talking about how the last episode made him cry. And I was just like, man, going at this rate, I don't even see it. Like, I'm not even gonna be sad.
I think it's the penultimate episode for me. It's whatever one he talks to the kid and goes to the mother's home, the child actor's home.
Yeah, I thought that was.
Is that the final? I think that's the second last one. It was okay, because I get him confused. But yeah, okay.
But anyway, so my first exposure ever to Nathan For You was the same episode that Ty talked about of watching the.
We watched it together, right? And that was your first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was Clinton and Jordan who knew what it was.
Well, and then Clinton, like, though, he knew because he watches it very thoroughly, and he was like, this is the perfect episode to get people hooked on it.
Oh, so
because I watched some other episodes when I first started, and it wasn't as good as that one.
Yeah.
And so and then The Rehearsal is also actually recommended from one of my buddies at work. He was like, oh, you should definitely check out Nathan For You. He's like, actually, The Rehearsal is even a little bit, in my opinion, better than Nathan For You.
Yeah, me too.
And I was like, okay.
That's interesting you say that, because I feel like I would recommend Nathan For You way before I recommend The Rehearsal to anyone. That's how I feel about it. Yeah.
I think The Rehearsal is way more niche than Nathan For You, because Nathan For You is kind of just like, oh, it's funny, it's just awkward, weird, but like Rehearsal's like, it's like triple meta. It's just like
it is like
it makes
a show.
No sense.
It's like a show. It's you know what it reminds me of visually, how to explain The Rehearsal is that scene where the street is folding in on itself in Inception. I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, it's like
washing over me. Yeah,
a movie, creating a movie. It's like the filming of a movie. It's like the behind the scenes of a movie, and then like the parody of the behind the scenes. You're like,
someone made an actual show about the making of a documentary about the making of a film or whatever, right? I don't even know how to describe it. It's like the most real
New York
show.
Ty is a lot
You've
like that.
You've mentioned that before, which is why I'm intrigued, and I definitely do want to watch it. I just got to put it after The Menu and a few other movies that I got to see. So, but a lot of good things on my list I'm excited for. And Incoherence.
Overall, overall, like especially in the beginning, super fun. I mean, I love the second episode and the introduction of the guy. Like, I mean, I'll get into some of my favorite
The
things.
chicken, the brother, the gold digger, or
That
whatever.
one got me the feels too, dude. I was like,
was
when he was
intense.
breaking down to his brother, the second time I watched it, I was like, oh my gosh, like I was getting emotional. Like,
Yeah.
because I'm almost like, man, Nathan, did you take it too far? I don't know.
I mean, making anyone wipe some senior's butt, you know, and that's going too far. That was a really sweet moment, though. He's like, "Hey, would you mind helping me back there?" He did. He freaking helped him. And like you said, was it just because the cameras were rolling? I don't know. Like, what is anyone's motivation in this world, dude? Anyway, this show is crazy. We got to talk about so many things. So I love it, Cameron. I was exposed at the same time as you were, and now I think about this show and Nathan Fielder and who he is. Like I'm obsessed. I think in my life, I would consider him one of the top 10 people I'm most interested to meet in my lifetime. If I could ever meet him, he'd be on that list. I would
But
just
would
love
he
to
be
meet
himself,
him.
or would he just
I wouldn't care.
anything?
I'd be like, dude, you can be the character, you can be yourself. Like, I'm
Okay.
just so interested. And I at least want to thank him for his show, because I for both Nathan for You and Rehearsal. I think these are some of the craziest, most mind melding things I've seen, which is weird. I don't know. It's just so honest. Like, it's the most honest reality TV show I've ever seen.
But is it though? Because like as
it's
I was watching it too, yeah, he's constantly like the editing is manipulating you, like, and like I just noticed it so much more the second viewing. Like, every time he wanted to say something, he would show you exactly that
what he wanted to tell you. Yes.
Yeah.
Now I would just argue, like, you could like Roger Ebert, the film critic, did he achieve what he set out to do? Primarily, it's a comedy show, and I am gut busting laughing all the time. So I think as long as you accomplish your goal, I'm having a good time. I'll keep watching this. I'll keep seeing the crazy schemes that he comes up with, because I'm laughing. Like, a lot of them are funny.
He was saying that about The Rehearsal, or Nathan?
No, I'm just saying he films movies and TV shows based on what they're setting out to do. So like, if you have a scary movie and it doesn't scare you, it fails. It's a bad scary movie. Even if it's funny and it's so bad that it's good, it failed to do what its objective purpose was. So Nathan Fielder is primarily a comedy show, and I'm laughing all the time.
I know, but Roger, what did he say that about? Was he saying it reviewing
just
this?
about any movie?
Oh, yeah, that's just a quote from him.
Yeah. He critiques a film or a TV show based on what they set out to do, and did they accomplish their goal or their purpose for existing.
Okay.
And
he
primarily
just reviews specific movies too, so I wasn't sure if he reviewed this.
Yeah, this in particular, no. Oh, as far as I know, I don't know. He's dead now. Can't ask him. Maybe I could go back in his catalog and figure out if he did review this show or Nathan for You. But anyway, Jordan, what about you, man? When did you first see this?
And did you finish your thought, Cameron? You sounded like you were about to say one last thing.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that, like, I loved it in the beginning, but I don't know, he kind of started to lose me, especially with the one where they took him out into the field. I think he started to cross lines and started to, like, I'm like, you're, I don't know, borderline unethical.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because I wondered that too. Like, no, but
the field. Are you referring to the digging for gold?
Cameron, are you?
Yeah, essentially like trapping inside. Like, it's too much. Where it's like he's parroting, or he's like making too many things fake, that I'm just like, you're just manipulating this person and treating him like an experiment and not like a human being.
Yeah. And I do agree with that. Actually, that's why I have a harder time with Nathan for You, because I feel like he is a little too, I don't want to say mean-spirited, but a little bit. Like, it just, when I watch it, sometimes I feel sick, because I'm like, these are people's lives that you're messing with. And like, I know a lot of time he is trying to help them, but in some cases he's just, I can't help but feel
that he's obviously helped. Like, the private investigator. Oh my gosh, you're the Wizard of Loneliness. He's my favorite character in all Nathan for You.
Amazing.
Anyway, he got his own TV show after it, and I think a lot of characters from Nathan for You like end up getting a boost. Just even being on TV, it boosts your sales, it boosts your notoriety, everything, right? And whether it's for bad or for good, publicity is publicity, right? So whether or not he intentionally, maliciously went in to hurt people's businesses, I don't think that necessarily was ever the goal.
I don't think exactly. I don't think he's ever like but when he's digging at people, though, like Cameron said, sometimes I do feel like he might be taking it too far in certain cases.
Yeah, give me an example, because to me the most obvious one is the child actor, but you could almost pin that on the child actor's mother.
Yeah,
because this kid is 5-6 years old. He
definitely
doesn't
has
know
majority of the blame.
Yes, and see that's obviously because the kid isn't consenting to this. The mother's choosing this life for the kid, and he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna play a part in being this man's son, and he's gonna pretend to be your father." And then like the kid can't distinguish between reality anymore because the show is all based around the fact that he's raising this as if it's his own child. He plays with him like a father would. He talks to him like a father would, and it blurs that line of. And you said he means spirited. To me, that almost lost me because I was like, this was going, I would say, too far. But again, I'm like, this is all things that the mother said were fine. And it's like, okay, but it is that thing where it's like, should you go and exploit someone and be like, oh, it's wrong to exploit people, and therefore we did it? It's like you could write a book about this and it would probably be more appropriate than like actually doing the experiment, right? Like that's why I think the rehearsals, it's kind of, I don't know, it's dark. It's like a dark thing. I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah.
The thing calls it a documentary / comedy. And I'm like, I guess. Like, I mean, is this even real? Is this even real? But he like, what's the premise of this? Literally, it just says Nathan Fielder gives people a chance to rehearse for their own lives in a world where nothing ever works out as expected. I mean, that's the best way you could sum it up, but it still leaves so much on the table.
Yeah.
Because he mocks the people that don't fully go for it in the experiment. He mocks his fake wife because he's like, what are you doing? You're not even like really playing into this role. Like you are squandering this opportunity to actually live this experience as if you were this child's mother. And this really was your life, which is weird because it's like, but there's just obviously like, I almost see where she's coming from, where it's like, this is all fake. Like it's all fake. It doesn't mean anything. Anyway. So what do you guys think? What was like the most mean-spirited thing in Nathan for you, you think?
Well, I mean, obviously the kid is the most obvious one. I thought the fact that the guy never came back after like breaking down or whatever is like a pretty big like sign that like maybe went too far.
I think that's interesting that you say that too. Yeah, because
well, Nathan, for you, Nathan, sorry, Fielder, he constantly is seeing moments where he's like, well, clearly they're not getting the real experience, so I need to take this further. And he does, and he manipulates them and makes him experience a real situation where the guy does, he fakes the situation, and it's like, oh, does the guy ever figure it out? I don't think, it doesn't look like it. Like he thinks, oh, I'm actually helping this old man. And he really did, like you said, helped him wipe himself. And he really did connect with this person. And he spent all night talking to him and having this relationship. And then he thought he was going to get the money from him. And it's just like, and then he has to go through that twice, like with his real brother and with this fake situation.
So is he better prepared? See, because like, I think it's interesting to say that, because the first one, we can start with episode 1 when he helps this guy reveal a secret that for me, it's hard for me to even relate because I'm like, who cares? But I'm like, no, he a friend of his believes
those
that he
are
has
probably
a higher
his
education.
only friends. Yeah.
Right. And so, but I still feel the weight, and the moment where he's rehearsed it so many times, and he's at that moment where he's supposed to tell her, and he freezes up. In that moment, I felt so anxious.
Yeah.
Like for the first time in a long time, I felt something. This show really made me feel so. I felt so worried for him. I was like,
Ty's cold dead heart that Disney has hardened.
Cold heart. Yes, it really has. All this garbage nowadays. I just really I was like, this is a real moment of tension. I felt something. This show actually made me feel alive, which sounds messed up because a crazy show. Anyway. I really felt something in that moment. Yeah,
and
it was like,
I didn't think this one was as mean as Nathan for you. And I can't think of a specific example because it's been a while since I've watched it. But I'm just thinking of like when he goes to businesses and, like I said, he tries to help them, but in certain cases he's like
exposes them for fraud, like, or like what frauds they are. Like for example, the ghost one is one that makes me think of it, like the realtor ghost. Like she thinks she's having these visions and she's like laying in her bed and is like, oh, like having these spiritual visitations.
Oh,
and it's like it's humiliating, but you're like, yeah, they believe it. So as far as he's convinced, he's like, hey, yeah, these people believe it. This is their lives or whatever.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like this is their life, and he's kind of, like winking at the audience and poking fun at them a little bit. Like I know
Right.
he's not like laughing directly in their face, but we're all laughing
Yes,
at
because
them.
we're in on the joke, or we can at least for our amusement watch the show. But
Yeah.
I think that's interesting because at the end of Rehearsal, and he actually did this in some of his other comedy bits for Comedy Central, he literally like looks to the audience in one of his bits where he's like talking to this girl and they're getting into an argument. Did you watch the documentary I sent you, Jordan, the YouTube video?
I can't remember.
Okay, but anyway, it's like Nathan Fielder just looks hard at the camera and they just stare at you and they're like, and they just kind of stare, like it's almost like, why are you watching this? It's a weird moment. Look up the Nathan Fielder fourth camera wall break. It's the weirdest sketch. He's having an argument with a girl and it's like his normal awkward
Oh yeah,
self,
I saw that one. Yeah.
and then they just look right at the camera and it just
Mhm.
like goes quiet and you're like, what is happening? Like am I the joke or whatever? And that's why I think one of my favorite Nathan Fielder episodes was when he's at the bar, has a no smoking allowed, so half the patrons are gone. The lady that runs the bar is like, we want to get business back, so they find a loophole. If they can put on a play or production and smoking's integral to the play, they can have smoking at the bar, so everyone comes back to smoke. And he has two people sitting in the corner assuming that it's a play, but it's really just people smoking at a night at the bar. And then he takes the footage, goes to a film critic or a play review, right, or whatever. She looks at the play and was like, oh yeah, like this is a slice of life, this is very interesting. And so he ends up hiring actors to play the people that were in the bar that night, and then puts on another theater production of it. It's like I said, it's just like layered on layered. It's so crazy. And again, um I I don't know that anyone else other than Borat, you mentioned Sacha Baron Cohen is like allowing people to speak in moments of, I don't know if it's vulnerability, but they'll say things that they would never even say to the most trusted colleagues, right? He like gets them into a false sense of security and gets people to admit things, right? Or he probes them and making them like want to trip up. Like a great example of this is when she says it tastes like poo, and he's like, what are you basing that off of? And it's like, have you eaten crap before? He's human feces. It's just like, no. And he's like, are you sure it's okay if you have? And it's just like so awkward and so embarrassing. And he's obviously hamming it up to make you feel embarrassed for her. And she's obviously embarrassed because it's like, it is poo flavored yogurt. That was the whole scent of the yogurt, or flavor of the yogurt. And he gets her to say it. And then he's like, what are you basing that off of? Like, how would you know what poo tastes like? And that's where the joke comes from, right? And so I agree. There are some times where he goes super all out and he's super mean and but gosh, it's so funny. I don't know, is he the biggest troll of all time? I really think he might be. Or Ryan Johnson, I don't know which. Everyone's convincing me that Glass Onion is a good movie. It's not. Go back and rewatch it. Oh, you won't, because it's stupid. Anyway, sorry. I hate Glass Onion so freaking much. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. We talked about Glass Onion last week, right? Or the week before?
You definitely did.
Okay. But I wasn't even as mad as I am now.
You did a mini episode on it.
Yeah, you basically did, yeah.
Yo, what else? Two of your favorite things. We can either do favorite gimmicks or favorite episodes or whatever. But Jordan, why don't you start?
Oh, I mean, as much as like Cameron, that moment you said it's just like he takes it too far and stuff, like that still is my favorite part. Is like I feel like that in this show, especially the rehearsal, it's like he did take it too far, but at the same time, I'm like, there's such a I mean, because of all the layers and the fact that this kid really feels like it's his dad, like it just emotionally gets to you, and it makes you think about like, you know, was it wrong? And like, I know we said it probably was that his mom was doing that for him, but like, that's not the only mom that does stuff like that. Like lots of moms put
Right,
their
but
kids
then you're
through
also
things.
thinking like Nathan didn't do bad. He was like being a real fun, loving father. But then he's
Yeah.
like has to take that away, and that's like, dude, that's dark. But he's like, I was just making the show, and this was a child actor that the mother allowed to. And then he's like, let's go back and be colder to the kid.
I know, that's when it's
like,
all right, you should have just maybe
no, but that's my point. Because then he's like,
Oh.
well, I did something wrong. And it's like, now he's doing the rehearsal for himself. And he's like, what if I could go back and change it? Like, what if I could convince this kid that, oh, I was never his father. Maybe I could have been more distant. It's like, dude, like that's when you broke my brain. I was like, I don't know. I don't know what's right anymore. Like, is all TV bad? Like, it's all bad.
Yeah.
Filming things is bad. What are the repercussions, man?
And the humor, I mean, is amazing. The best moment I think in this show was when he it builds up this building, and then he reuses and goes back to that same building that
the bar.
Yeah,
the restaurant.
he built a bar. It's just it's amazing when you give this man a bigger budget, he's gonna use it, and it's gonna be.
It's almost like
beautiful.
Nolan. He's like, I want a rotating hallway. It's like, we could just CGI. No, I want an actual rotating hallway. Like, okay,
or just to rent out the bar, but instead he builds the entire bar.
Builds the bar.
So funny.
Or builds the guy's apartment, right? Door City was the quote I made. He literally he had guys coming in under false pretenses that there was like something for remodeling or reconstruction. They filmed the whole layout of his house. He builds it, hires an actor to play the guy he's going to be interviewing. Yeah, gas leak, whatever it was. So
that's
crazy.
What the guy did in Barbarian. He's like, oh, you're leaky pipes.
I know. Yeah, there's the dark side of what he could possibly do. He could trick people, and he does it. Like, because he's like, hey, remember when those guys came to your apartment? And he thought it was for a gas leak. That wasn't a gas leak. It's like, oh my gosh. Like, people will just assume that you're legit. It's almost like the guys that they take a ladder. Have you guys seen this where they like, you can get anywhere with a ladder? Two guys walk around with a ladder and they like go to a movie theater and they're just allowed in. They go to like a fancy dining hall. They just walk in. They go into like the airport. They go like everywhere. Yeah. They go to like places that you need to pay to enter, but they're carrying a ladder, so people just wave them in because they assume they're supposed to be there. And it's a great experiment where people just like don't think. You're like, oh yeah, like they have a ladder. They must be doing some work that needs to be done that I don't know about, but go right on in.
Trailer Park Boys does that a lot. Like they steal stuff, and so they just show up with like hard hats and they act like construction workers, and people just like, let them in.
Let them in. Great.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
It's amazing.
So what else, Jordan? Did you have a second? Or
well, it's kind of like he's a little bit like Catch Me If You Can. It's like he can essentially, he knows with a certain way, a way he goes about things, he can get away with so much.
Yeah.
It's just like understanding people
apps,
and understanding situations, understanding people and their motivations. It's just amazing. Like, and he tries to get in the mindset of people, and like, he's being silly about it, but he's like, how can I actually do this? And how far can I go?
He plays the straight man. He never breaks. Like, he never allows us to think that he's laughing. I think one time he might have chuckled or out of control because he was not expecting. I don't know if it was in the last episode, Nathan, for you. Maybe it was even when the guy was like, oh, you could drink my grandson's pee. And he's like, what? He like almost breaks like there because he probably wasn't expecting that. And then he just asked him a few more questions. And the guy's like, yeah, drink any kid's pee. He's like, what are you talking about?
The government
about?
doesn't want you to know that.
Yeah, the government, big pharma. All these crazy people, and he's like, wow, I did not know they were this crazy. He's like, you're writing a TV show character all on your own. Like, I didn't even have to force this out of you. You're spilling the beans, and you're crazy. You're crazy.
What about you, Cameron? Two favorite things?
Two of your favorite things, bud.
I think, well, number one is just the attention to detail. I think is very impressive. Like, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of times I'll notice, even because a lot of times sometimes he like points out all the details.
Yeah, so that balloon was in the other restaurant.
Yeah, I'm like, he never would have noticed whether it was there or not. But there's a lot of things. I just feel like he reminds me of like a director who takes a lot of like pride in their work. And there's like certain,
like a Stanley Kubrick or something.
Yeah, where like if you watch it back like 18 times, you'll find little Easter eggs and stuff like that. And I just think that's like really impressive, even though like his morals may not be.
Say it, dude. I love this discussion because I have a few thoughts about it. One is, I don't know that he knew that was going to happen. I don't know. I think it's possible that he did, because I think it almost felt like he was grasping at straws, but maybe he had it always figured out this way. I don't know. Because the end of the show almost left me feeling like not dissatisfied, because like I assumed the whole house fake living a life was like the climax, right? Because they kept building to the story. Because the first one is like a one-off where they help this guy resolve an issue with somebody else, and it kind of sets the whole preset for the whole series, right? So now he's going to pretend be a father to a fake wife, to a fake child, and the child ages rapidly. And that's what I was going to mention. Some of the funniest comedy moments are when they switch the child's age, where he sees his son like drinking and doing drugs with his friend at the park or whatever, and then like he goes down the slide and he goes, I just needed to change of perspective, and the younger child comes out of the bottom of the slide. I don't know, I love that, because like in a movie that could be like an actual movie moment where he like sees a younger version of his son and he's like, come on, let's go home. And then the other actor's like, wait, is that it? And you never hear from him ever again. Like, he's like, was the show, am I done with the audio? Like, whatever. Like, makes me laugh every time I see it. And then there's another great scene where he's like reliving it, and he has like older and older versions of actors playing his son, to eventually he's running around the house with like another middle-aged dude or his age, and he's like tickling him, and it's so weird, and it's so he like picks him up, and he's like trying to rock him to sleep. It's so funny, dude. So good, dude. So running around tickling him in the house. It's so weird.
I think Cameron's text was my favorite. He's just like at the very end when he like, he's the child or whatever. What did you say, Cameron?
So
wait, second favorite thing, Cameron? Ty keeps jumping in here.
Well, there's less than a minute. So I just said what the F is the final scene in the rehearsal. I said Nathan needs to be stopped.
Nathan needs to be stopped. Yeah, the ending. So I have a few thoughts, like, right? Like,
wait, we gotta get back on.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, and then I gotta do my second thing before.
Second favorite thing, Cam?
I mean, the numbers guy from episode 2. I like everything about his character. Like, that's kind of like what you guys are talking about with Nathan for you, and just
he sees deeper meaning in the most menial things. Yeah.
Well, not only that, but he's just like you couldn't have like written him a better character. Like, I love that. I love that he's like preaching all this, like, oh yeah, I'm like a super God guy, and then she's like, so like, what do you like purity wise? And he's like, I do. And she's just like,
yeah.
And then he gets back to like, and she's just like, oh well, I'm not gonna like till like I'm married or whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, okay. And then he gets back to his place. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm probably gonna like tonight. And then I'm just like, did you not hear anything that she said in that conversation? And I love that and then Nathan's like, are you gonna? And he's like, no, I'm not usually. And then he just like rips a bong and then asks Nathan if he wants to hit it. I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, you realize this is about to be televised?
Dude, on top of it, he's like, let's drive. He's like, are you sure you should be driving after you ripped a bong?
Yeah,
and he's like, it's fine. And he's like, you also don't have a license plate. He's like, you don't need one.
You have to get a license plate to drive. I'm just like,
I know. Who is this guy?
He's like, who is this guy, dude? Oh my gosh. Oh, he's arguing with his roommate too.
Yeah, his roommate with the demon. I love that.
Yeah, he's like, don't listen to him. He has a demon. He's like, oh,
my favorite part about it is the guy is just like the voice of reason of everyone in the audience. He's just like, maybe you should stop looking into the importance of all these numbers and actually realize that, hey, I'm like going on a date with somebody who could actually be the one. And he's like, just shut up, dude. You don't understand numbers. I'm just like, what the fudge?
Yeah, great,
his character.
What a character. Yeah.
He's like a Coen Brothers level character. Just in real life,
he stresses me out more. He'd be like a Duffer Brothers character, or wait, Safdie Brothers, right?
And I
always get those confused.
My favorite thing is he didn't last one night. I love that he left immediately, and he was just
he's waking him up. He was like intentionally making the kid cry as much as possible. He's like, I cannot sleep. I'm leaving, and it's just like, oh, okay, like he's out. Never
and that side character of the self-proclaimed night owl, that dude was hilarious. There's government
he falls asleep.
There's government Bigfoot liaisons, and I'm like,
he's like supposed to be watching the cameras, falls asleep, and he has video of him falling asleep
15 minutes into his shift.
And see, that could be manipulation, where it's like, dude, he could have been recording them all night and he may have just dozed off for a minute. But see, I'm fine with it as long as, like I said, you could argue this is a comedy show, and as long as I'm laughing, you could argue that it's fair game, right? But it's like, under false pretenses, is that fair to the people in the show? Because he lets them on to believe that this is a reality TV show for something more serious. But then you're like, this is all just for comedy? Like, is that mean-spirited? Because in the end, it's like, oh, none of this was real. The stakes were never there.
Well, and he comes like with the businesses, he says, I'm here to help your business. And in some cases he doesn't, and maybe even is just there to make fun of them. And so I don't know.
But even some of them do earn money. Some of them do get notoriety because So you're almost like, can he help which ones do work and which ones don't?
Even the pig one though, Ty, he could have helped her business, but he decided not to because he's like, he was trying to find another joke. He was like, I kind of, he wanted all the fame to himself or whatever it turned out.
I think it's possible, but I almost think
I think he was worried because
possible for fraud. No, is it not possible that if they took credit for it, that they could have been sued for libel or like?
And I think he got a little bit afraid probably too. Like,
well, dude, I think that was the first time he went like viral, right? Because he was on news channels and everything, and it wasn't until he did the Starbucks one where he's like, "I'm making like a mockery of Starbucks by calling it dumb Starbucks." It gets all this notoriety, but it's like all attached to his name. And again, like,
but then his show comes out though, and it's like, but he shows it. So does that get him in trouble? I guess he's got tons of
this is a question that plagues me. Do you think that there are people that go on his show and never end up seeing Nathan For You or Rehearsal? Like, are there people out there that still think that somewhere out there there's a reality TV show, but they've never seen themselves in the show?
Definitely the first guy from the first episode. I think he didn't watch it.
He never watched it. Like,
probably not.
Yeah, the yogurt shop guy. He's probably like, yeah, well, who cares, right? He's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have a poo flavored yogurt. And he's like, no kidding. It's like,
I was talking about the guy in the Rehearsal, the first episode.
Yeah.
Oh, which guy that
the TV show, the black TV show.
Remember, he's like, so you've watched Nathan For You, and he's like, no, I haven't. He's like, but don't isn't
he's like, isn't your specialty like TV trivia? He's like, yeah, but I don't know anything about your show. And he's like, ouch. Like, that's so great, dude. I love it. Self-depreciating humor always works, folks. So funny. Gosh, that is interesting.
I'm just saying, I think he's one of the people that probably hasn't seen his show. The question you asked.
You don't think so? Like, so to this day, he doesn't know he was ever manipulated. Dude, that was a great example where he's literally cheats the answers to the game night throughout the week where he thinks they're reviewing for the rehearsal. He's also ensuring that he has a good Jeopardy or what's that game? What is it? Jeopardy? It's trivia. Yeah, trivia night. Yeah. So who can get the answers? And he force feeds him all the answers subliminally.
But not the tallest building.
Yes.
The tallest building in the world is the Burj Khalifa. It's days like someone came in and like shot two people. Days like these, they curse the Chinese for
Chinese big gunpowder.
I'm like, what type of normal sentence was that?
From a cop. I loved that, dude. That was so good. Oh my word.
And see, it's one of those things where you wouldn't like and that's the thing that like obviously plays in his favor is your first instinct anytime someone does something like that isn't this is staged. Like if you interact with a random human being on the street, your first instinct isn't this is staged, this is a joke. It's just like same thing with Impractical Jokers. Like your first instinct interacting with a regular person isn't like, oh, this is done for like jokes or like there's something more to this than just you being a random
unless you had seen him before. Like if people actually knew Nathan or
and he kind of is approaching the Sacha Baron Cohen effect where it's like you now have to wear costumes because you're just too famous. People know who you are.
When he did Who Is America,
you'll be recognized. Yeah. Which still was really clever because it's like, oh, you just go undercover as a new character and you never break character. People are never on to the fact that you are somebody
and not everybody has seen his stuff,
Yeah, that's true too. So I think that was interesting. And that was what was bothering me. I was like, there's probably poor souls that have been on Nathan For You and for Rehearsal and have never seen this show. Like even the guy in the second episode, like, did he ever catch wind? He's like, that was me. Oh my gosh. And like come and speak out against it.
But I just wonder if a friend or a family had seen it and then they're like, oh, hey, you're in this.
You were in the show. And he's like, oh, it was for that. And he's like, and then he like, do they even have like, if they were manipulating the show, I like to believe that they still have the capacity to understand as a whole, like what the show is about. Like they can get that, right? I'm just worried that like some of the people he manipulates don't seem all that bright. I'm sorry. Like some of them, they seem he preys upon them. Like some of like the guys in Nathan For You, like he keeps bringing back one of my favorite characters is like one of the sound guys on his show. He keeps asking him to like one of my favorite episodes. He goes on this blind date and they have it's like the awkward dialogue where they have to talk about Sparrow's sandwich, or is it Sparrow's, or is it what's the sandwich shop? I can't remember. It wasn't Quiznos. He's like Quiznos subs, and like he's trying to have a date, and it's already awkward as it is, but he has to like eke an advertisement for. Oh my gosh, it's the funniest of. Do you know our sauces are? What does he say? Like chef inspired sauces or whatever. Oh my gosh, it's so bad. It's so bad. And I'm like, does that guy know that Nathan is like bullying him or like using him as comedy fodder. It's almost not even fair. Like, what about TV shows? He exposes fake news for what they are. Like, all these corporate medias just take the story and they just run with it. They don't even bother to verify if it's true. They're just like, look at this story. And they're like, just run with the fake things that Nathan has planted. He did it several times. One of my favorite examples of this is how fake late night shows are. Jimmy Kimmel, he literally fabricates this whole episode in Nathan For You, this crazy wacky story so he can tell it on his late night show, but it was all fake. It was for the episode, but he did it so he could tell this wacky story on late night television. It's crazy, and it just shows you how fake it is. Anyway, I think he's doing such important work at exposing how fake some people are and showing us how like genuine and real people are in moments of vulnerability. Dang, it's clever, dude. I'm blown away by this show. Anyway, those are my two favorite things. It's just the fact that in moments he gets people to confess things that they would never say out loud to anyone or confess to anyone. And somehow he gets people to open up like that. That's a real skill. I don't know if it's just like hours of editing and he finds the one sentence that finally, drives the nail in the coffin, but I'm blown away. I'm just amazed at the structure and the callbacks and how many like the rehearsal, like the first episode literally is telling you what the whole season is going to be about. At the very end, he's talking to this that he's hired for the Bill Gates impersonator, or that's the end of see, now I'm getting him confused. I get the two shows confused. The end of Nathan For You is the Bill Gates thing where they're like going to go find his long lost girlfriend that he's always wanted to have, right? The Bill Gates impersonator.
Yeah.
How does Rehearsal even end? I'm trying to remember. It was like see, now I'm
the child.
I'm spinning. It ends with what child? The child actor that's the last episode?
Yeah.
And he's like going back through the rehearsal again and again.
It's the child actor playing it's the child actor playing so it's like the middle age, like the 8-year-old child actor playing like the 4-year-old child actor. Yes. And then him saying, it's the part where he's like, oh, he's like, thanks, mom. And he's like, I'm not your mom.
He goes Dad. As like the mother. Oh my gosh, dude. Oh my gosh, I can't even.
And then he turns and looks at the camera with the wig.
Dude, and he's just like, no, I'm your dad. And he's just like, yeah, I know. It was so weird. It's so weird. He's like, this is all a show, right? He's like, yeah. That's one of my favorite lines to the 8-year-old actor. This is all fake, right? Why is that so good? Yeah. It's like, yeah, I know that.
I keep forgetting. I have to not tell Cameron he's going to get emotional in a show, because otherwise he'll make sure he's as hard as possible. So he doesn't.
He locks his heart. Yeah. Locks his heart away. I know. I don't know why that's not a selling point, because to me, it's awful. I'm not crying because it's joyous. This is awful. Like, it's sad.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. And so Cameron doesn't have a heart. So I don't know why you keep selling that. You're like, it's not going to be crying for joy. And Cameron's like, who cares? That mom is awful. That's all you can take away, right, Cameron? You think that mom is more awful than what the tragic thing that happened to the boy, right? The mom is worse than the tragic.
I definitely think, with all due respect, she's an idiot for putting her child on a show about a fake father, when there's not a father figure in his life. I'm like, you didn't think that there would be repercussions? Like, are you fetching kidding me? Like, because
that's interesting, right? Like,
he doesn't come home to an actual dad, so he's like, oh, this is my new daddy now. Like, he probably thinks that they're dating or something, or that he's going to be his new dad. Like, you can't just bring a child that doesn't have a father in his life and like have him have a father figure and then be like, oh no, it was all fake. And you're like,
I know. I'm sure as you describe it, I'm like, this was all scripted. This was all planned. He knew that this was going to happen, like, in some way. Or just like how he has his flow chart, the way he operates is he has a flow chart of every possible outcome, and he like just goes down the flow chart, and he's like, these are all the responses.
Flow chart.
Yeah, I know, dude. It's like, okay, I'm going to say this thing.
Felt like I was in college again.
1 or 2. Yes, I know. It was like you're trying to identify the animal in the animal kingdom, and you have like this giant flow chart, and you're like, oh, I got here. He literally has a phone call with somebody, and he's like, depending on their answer, he's going to go down this response or he's going to go down this response. And it just branches down to like every decision he makes is mapped out and
it almost reminds me of like a sales tactic where it's just like
it's a script.
Every single response. Yeah. Here's the script response for that.
Well, and it's like he does everything so almost cold and heartless. Like It's like
yes,
everything
he never
is
breaks. He's never he's never like, he almost he doesn't seem genuine except the moments where he's like self-depreciating. Like a great example of this is when they're playing the theater episode and he gets the actress to say like I love you, and he's like, say it again. Say it again. And she keeps saying, I love you. And he ends up tearing up. And she's like, you have tears in your eyes. He goes, oh, what? Oh, I'm sorry. Wipes the tears from his eyes because he's getting this woman to repeatedly say, I love you. And it's like, so he believes it in that moment. But again, I'm like, that's just like good comedy. But I'm like, I don't know. Like these moments of vulnerability and self-depreciating humor, like how much of it is true and how much does of it bear into the whole story as a whole, like, or him as a character, right? And I'm
was
like,
that when he's realizing how horrible of a human being he is? He's like,
yeah, I know.
Have I taken this too far?
Have I taken it too far?
Like tears.
I know, and it's interesting because there is a moment like that where he was so caught up in finding, what was her name? I can't even remember her name now. It's bothering me.
Well,
the
I
last
like
episode of Nathan For You, where they go find his
yeah, and the main
lover.
girl in the show, like I love how a lot of the time she just doesn't take it seriously, and she's just, oh man, she is a character.
She is a
She
character.
also
that's for sure.
could not have been written better.
I know. Found this girl that's so, it's so Christian. It hurts. I don't know. It's like, yeah, like a stick in the mud meets like overly zealous and hyper paranoid, and yet like, I don't know, super blase-faire about like whatever Nathan does or whatever the kid does, but then she's like has no problem calling him out for things that she deems satanic. And it's like you could and I know that must have been like things he knew about her that would cause her to like, he's obviously making this ridiculous skit with a younger kid about like Dr. Pooh or what, a Dr. Fart, and he had to eat like a candy bar.
Yeah,
and
do you
Nathan
remember
just got, like,
I had you do
chocolate all
that?
over his face.
Do you remember I had you do that, Ty, in one of our videos? You probably
Dude,
don't remember that.
I'm sure we did, dude.
I'm like,
did.
with this chocolate bar. He came up with the idea. I'm sure he did.
I know. It's just like, you manipulated him. And they mentioned that several times in the show where he's like, you manipulated someone to get this response. That happens in Nathan For You too, where he shows the girl companion that was supposed to be with the Bill Gates impersonator, and she's like, why don't we turn the camera, or Nathan asks like, do you want me to turn the cameras off? And she's like, doesn't that defeat the purpose? And he's like, the purpose of what? Like, and to me it's like he's blurring the line there just with dialogue like that. And that's where the show ends too with Rehearsal. It's like how much of it is real, how much of it is, are you just supposed to speculate? What does it say about the TV industry? Like, that's why I think you can label it as a documentary. He's literally making this show and allowing you to ask the questions and be like, should there be a change? Like, should this never happen again? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Don't torture children. So don't make them become child star actors. I mean, there's plenty of examples of children that have had their lives ruined because of childhood acting anyway.
Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber.
Hannah Montana.
Macaulay Culkin. I know, dude. It was Joaquin Phoenix's brother, River Phoenix. Freaking OD'd on freaking drugs, dude. It's horrible.
Poor
it's
Home Alone kid probably became too famous.
Macaulay Culkin, yes.
Oh, that's what you just said.
Yeah. Kieran Culkin too, his brother. Like that whole family, dude. Anyway, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But I mean, he's set for life. Those royalties, dude. Christmas time, man.
Here we go. Ty thinks money will resolve everything.
No, I'm not saying it resolves everything. I'm saying like, yeah, at what cost? It's like you sold your soul for how much money, right? How much is your integrity worth? And it's like these parents should take a long, good look at the mirror. The aging mirror, right?
Oh, Ty, that was The Whale. I just watched that movie with
Darren Aronofsky.
And
I can't watch.
And that was the main big thing was him leaving money for the kid. And I'm like, this is such a what's the youngest generation? Like that was somehow like meant something. I'm like, money? Like, I don't know why people act like money is so important. I don't know.
Money isn't important, is it? We importantize it so much. Is that a word? Importantize.
Important.
I love using that word. We make important. I know it's a bad word. Prioritize. I think.
Do we recommend the show, Ty?
Gosh, yeah. I recommend Nathan For You way over Rehearsal. Rehearsal's sad. It's funny. It's crazy. Yeah. It's more impressive. It's almost more skillful, but I still think Nathan For You is more accessible.
I think I really do recommend the first episode of Rehearsal, but you have to understand that the first episode of Rehearsal is nothing like the rest of the show.
Yes, because the show, like I said,
really
folds
heavy.
in on its side. It gets heavy, and he raises questions, dude. Okay, like here's a great example. I want to bring up this sketch because it's the funniest sketch, and yet it's like this is the absurd comedy. Nathan builds a claw arm that's going to. He's going to be labeled as a pervert or a offender for the rest of his life if he can't uncuff himself. Like, it's like one of those escape artist things. It's a ridiculous premise. And do I believe for 1 second that claw arm was ever going to fully? No. So you're like, it's scripted in that way, but again, it's like one of those funny things where he's like, some people have even risked their lives. I'm going to risk something more serious, becoming a registered offender. It's funny, it's weird, and it's like, it's all scripted. And I think that's a good example of like the show. There are definitely moments where it's so over the top. You're like, okay, there's no way this could be real. But then there's moments of like characters that are wackier and zanier than he is, because he's not over the top. He's not Michael Scott. This is like an everyday man. He's mellow. He doesn't get all that excited. He doesn't even reveal his true hand a lot of the time. He's just like straight man, just telling you as it is. And the comedy shines through. And that's remarkable. That's not a lot of people think and act and walk and talk like Nathan Fielder. So Nathan Fielder, I think you're one of the most interesting human beings on this earth. He's like the Joaquin Phoenix of acting and Daniel Day-Lewis of acting, of storytelling and documentary making and TV show building, world building. So thank you, Nathan Fielder, for being one of the most interesting things I've seen all decade long. So thank you for that, dude. Real quick, I did want to throw out a shout out to the show I referenced earlier was Super Eye Patch Wolf. He says, "What is Nathan Fielder?" And he goes into this ebb and flow, or the he and ha of like, is he faking or is he genuine? Is he fake? And it goes back and forth, and in the end, it's kind of ambiguous. Like, who knows? He could be trolling the whole world at this point, because he's trolled them for lesser things. He made everyone convinced that he wore the skin of a human being and made that guy a hero, just a regular dude. He made him a hero, tightrope walking for like cancer awareness or something like that. It's absurd. It's absurd. Insane.
It's like Rick and Morty with Pissmaster.
It somehow it does feel like Rick and Morty. Like
he's a real life Rick.
Yes. I will say, yeah, he doesn't think like you and I think it's safe to say he thinks outside the box. He's not a planet Earth dude. Folks, check this show out. Should we get into what we've seen lately, what movies we're looking forward to? So I went to the theater. I saw what was that movie called? The Chucky Meets Small Soldiers. Yeah, May Thregan, M Thregan. No, it's M Thregan.
Yep.
It's not even the third movie. He never played a part in it.
Do you know who directed that? He is the same guy that did Housebound. Do you remember that film?
I remember Housebound.
Yeah, that was. I don't think
this movie deserves a 90%. Housebound is a better movie.
Yes, Housebound is way better.
But then again, I don't know if it was just a knockoff of Rear Window, or the not Rear Window, but the movie Shia LaBeouf.
Oh yeah, Disturbia.
Disturbia. It's so much like Disturbia, but to be fair, like Disturbia, it's still so different from Disturbia. Anyway,
it is. Yeah,
it is like House Arrest, and it's Rear Window essentially. But I think it's a better than Disturbia, though, personally.
Yeah, not as good as Rear Window, but better than Disturbia. Maybe. Yes. I don't know.
Rear Window doesn't hold up as much as I like it to, even though it's a great movie.
Yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock. I think Hitchcock. There's other Hitchcock films that hold it better, like Psycho and. Even birds are terrifying. I also so dude, I want to hear your thoughts, Jordan, on May 3 M Thregan or whatever. We went and saw it, dude. I
really enjoyed it. I liked your comparison. I thought it was like right there with Smile. Like I enjoyed a lot about it. But it's like a perfect B film. Like it wasn't like the most amazing movie I've seen this year, but it was just fun.
Yeah, to me, I just want to say the one thing. It's like it wasn't scary enough to be scary. It wasn't funny enough to be funny. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, I got moments of like Victor Crowley. I'm like, oh, they could lean into that. Like I laughed out loud in the theater. I'm like one of 4 people watching the movie. I laughed out loud when the doll starts to sing. It is the weirdest.
Yes, I burst out laughing. I'm like, am I supposed to be laughing right now?
Yes, and it was so weird, but then it was great because it was punctuated with one of the ladies, the board member. She's like in the room crying, and I was like, that's hilarious. That was funny.
Yeah, that was.
But
funny.
Again, it was so out there because I was not expecting it. It was just like this moment of comedy that I burst out laughing because it's like, what is happening? Like, why is this happening?
Yeah,
it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. So that moment,
I love they went the emotional route, like you said. It was like because
it's
so unexpected.
Like a test, it was doing a test run to show how cool this doll was, but then it turned into like this really emotional scene. And the robot does perfectly because it comforts the child that's dealing through like a trauma.
Well, because they showed up to see a toy, but instead they got like an emotionally connected
doll.
Yeah.
Yes.
It
like
was
a therapist in a child toy. Yeah.
I felt like so
nuts.
uncomfortable, but like at the same time I was so enthralled. I was like, this is insane.
Yeah. And that was a moment that hooked me, but I still, like I said, in the end, I don't want to say it suffers from a PG-13 rating because that's not fair. Like there are movies that grip me way more, but like the movie fails just because like the Robert Ebert thing I was saying earlier, like was it trying to just be funny or was it trying to just be serious? Was it trying to be scary? Like because the movie didn't scare me at all. Like it was not scary in
Yeah,
the least
me
bit.
neither.
But that being said, it's like laughed out loud at a moment that I know they meant to try to make funny. Like they definitely hammed that up. And it was funny because it was like the doll's trying to be endearing and it's creepy as all get out as it starts singing, but then it's kind of endearing at the end, but you're like, but that was corny. And but like there's a character crying and it's like over the top. And you're
well,
like,
I loved when she was chasing the boss around the building. That was great.
See, that was another scene where I didn't understand. Like, okay, like the kid, she's running on all fours. Why? Like, what's going on?
No, I'm not talking about that.
I know
when she's running. Yeah, I just like the boss.
She's like calmly walking, skipping down the hall like a little kid.
Whatever, but just like him booking it for the hills. Like, just there's something
the elevator,
about
finds the other man.
Something about running from dolls, like just freaky.
Oh yeah, I like the boss. He was one of my favorite characters of the whole show, for sure. He's like, wait, I want a key card that allows me into this office. He was hilarious. Like he was over the top. The boss that like wants the product. It's Rise of the Planet of the Apes. That boss. He's like, we're gonna start testing on humans. I want you to test on chimps. And he's like, you put all those chimps down, and this drug is done for. And you're like
clearly a character.
Yeah. Yes, like it's just a one-dimensional money, profits. And then the moment my company, you're out, and then they take the experiment home. It's literally the same thing as Rise of the Planet of the Apes. It's the same story.
My biggest nitpick was just that she allowed to leave a doll there that's worth $100,000, like of not
at
her
night,
property.
unsupervised with her own adopted
I'm
niece.
sorry. And
they weren't even monitoring.
And to not program it to not kill, like I'm sorry. I mean, she is the dumbest person on the planet.
It programmed her to optimize her object purpose in life, which was to ensure the safety of her child.
Yeah, but I guess the idea was that all she thought was like, oh, this is a toy, so it's not gonna start like it's not like an AI. I mean, but I don't know.
It literally is AI pretending to be a toy. Like she was like, we could repurpose this for 10 grand a pop for each child, but it's like, yeah, rich people would buy this. But it's like my favorite thing that they didn't lean into was like the moral implications. I love it. One of the characters that's writing the code with her, she's like, what are the moral implications of like replacing you as her mother? Like she's going to be a surrogate mother that's going to replace you. Like, yeah, sure, she's doing the mundane things, but she's like, this was supposed to help parents, not replace them. And I liked that line of the movie. And that was the best theme of the movie. Like it was like
good,
you are like technology is essentially replacing like parenting. Like I'll just slap an iPad or a TV show for my kids and I don't have to watch them for an hour. It will babysit for them. That's basically what it's speaking to. And I like that. And I wish it almost went further.
Yeah.
Because like the ending felt so Blumhouse and Twilight Zone. It was just fine. But like I also didn't like how Megan's powers like extended beyond what she could do. She was like hacking into servers and to the lights and to the
that's
stuff.
well, I was wondering, I'm like, well, then isn't
she's plugged in? Oh, unplug her. And then he goes up to unplug her and she strangles him. I'm like, yeah,
I know. Well, but I was just like, oh, so is she like outside of herself? Like,
she's in the cloud, she's in the cloud. She's corrupting data files. She's corrupting her GPS so they can't find out that she in fact killed people. Like she's the best manipulator ever. It's like if she was just convinced that she's supposed to care for the kid, I guess she's aware of laws, as she's aware of killing someone is morally reprehensible. Like I like the one scene where he's like, you're not to talk about death with her. I thought that was interesting because I was like, she's explaining like, oh, you're not just so crazy. There's a scene with a little child act. Okay. You know what's funny? I hate ripping on child actors, but like this one, I'm so grateful that the robot would reveal what the child actress was thinking, because it would show like, oh, she's confused 20%, happy 40%. Like it would tell, because I didn't know what the child actress was thinking. I was like, I don't know what she thinks about the robot. Is she terrified? Is she bored? She just like bored most of the time. I don't know. Change the child actor. I think we would have had a much better movie on our hands. But anyway, that's beside the point. I mentioned Small Soldiers because like this is clearly just a machine. Like this is a great killing machine. That's all it is. And it's like Small Soldiers literally was one of the plots where they're like, we're going to go to the Pentagon with this technology.
I don't know why they didn't sell this girl to the military. Like they could have sent her in.
I know.
And she starts mowing down all the enemies. Because she could literally just pretend to be a little girl running through the streets. Nobody would do anything. And then she could be an assassin by night.
Yes. Get the military on the phone. Pentagon, we got a technology for you. This little murdering doll. It's tactful. It knows how to corrupt its. The other thing too, there's a super disturbing scene with this bully in the forest that's like really mean, and they do that so they can like kill the kid off. And I was like, that really went there. I did not expect that kid to die. I mean, like I guess I knew that scene was coming where she's gonna like kill the kid in the forest because the kid.
Oh, I'm assuming you didn't watch the trailer because it showed it in the trailer. I'm like, why did you show that?
There you go. Perfect. No, I'm sure they did, right? And no, you know what? I must have seen the trailer because I saw her running on all fours, and I was like, that looks ridiculous.
Yeah,
like,
it did.
Doesn't seem scary. It wasn't scary, but I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to go for like the creepy contortionist. Like that always makes me. And so here's the thing: this whole movie happens because the dog across the next door bites the back of her neck. So mind you, like this is like
no, it wasn't her neck that it. No, yes. It was when it bit the girl's arm. Then she but Jordan, she was only there to defend the girl.
Watch the movie again, Jordan. I know what you were saying. She did try to defend the girl because she was getting bitten. The doll gets bit on the back of the head, and it like snaps a circuit. It literally does, and the doll is damaged from that point on, and it's like, so it's like it's kind of like the inciting incident for Chucky, I guess, where it's like a criminal, a deranged serial killer puts his spirit into the doll. This one was like, the doll is actually going to be fine, but the dog damaged it to where it's now.
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
But see, to me, it's like, I almost don't, I'm fine. Like, I'm fine with like the doll killing the dog because the dog injured the girl. I'm fine with her killing the bully because the bully hurt the girl. Like, it's protecting the girl. That's fine. And it's overzealously killing things that could potentially harm the child. I like that. And I almost thought that's where it was going to get to with the mom. And it kind of did at the end, where it's like, I'm going to kill you. However, I need to keep you alive because if I keep you alive, my cover won't be blown. Like it's just like became 4D chess. And I guess because it was AI, it was so intelligent, it was thinking of these things, but it was like scheming the whole time. It's like, I'm going to get away with murder. Like it knows what murder is, but it doesn't know what the afterlife is. Or what, I don't know.
Yeah, I just didn't know when it was like connected to the internet. Could it know those things, or is it only from
the whole wide web? And it was like, I am omniscient. But then it could have like jumped through devices, which I think at the end we're led to believe it's in her iHome, basically, or what her security feed, because the camera turns and it's like, oh, like she's in her house now, and it's like, but then you move. Oh, but like she'll jump house to house or whatever. It's in the cloud. It will follow her forever, right? And I actually like the ending for that regard, where it's like, but again, it's like, how did she get there?
I think they need to do a crossover with her and Chucky.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's essentially kind of what this felt like. Like there's several moments, like, I don't know. Anyway, I love the Furby pets.
It basically was the new the Furby.
The stupid little the iPad toy, and it's like you feed it, and then it like poops out like little kibbles out of its butt. I thought that was hilarious. And then like the knockoff toy brand, it's like you rub its butt and it like glows different colors. I thought that was hilarious. Like just making fun of kids' toys these days, like the Junko Pop or whatever, like the Funko Pop,
and it's
like,
just burping all the time.
It's farting and burping all the time, and it's like, oh, kids love this stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, but it's so true. Like most kid entertainment is that, like, it's just farts and burps now, and it's just it's like, oh, heaven help us. If this
but Ty, do you recommend it? Is the question.
I think it's way overhyped. I think it's fine. It's just not scary enough, and it's not funny enough. It's just
I agree. It's fine. I don't think it deserved, what is it, 80 or 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm like,
that makes me feel. That's what makes me feel like worried about the future. I'm like, if this is what passes, it's like like maybe someone could like come in and convince me where it's a lot more clever than it was. Fine, but like even then, it's like I still feel like I have so many unaddressed plot holes in it. Like I said, the moment she's like plugged it. The dog biting her neck, like, did it destroy her chip? It literally is the plot of like Spider-Man 2, like Otto Octavius. My one purpose is now to rebuild the power of the sun in the palm of my hand. But it's like, do you not care about anything else? Like, I don't know, the dog ruined you. And like, if they had just examined the break there, could they have stopped this whole nonsense from happening in the end, like in the first place? Because AI is just going to like learn and eventually learn on its own and will go do its own thing, I guess. I don't know. So many questions.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, perfectly fine for what it was. So I went to the theater to watch this movie because I saw it was 90% Rotten Tomatoes, a horror film, PG-13. I'm like, there has to be something really special about this. I found out a Blumhouse did it, and I'm like, okay, so it obviously had like, I knew it was gonna have the Twilight Zone ending. I saw it coming from a mile away. And it had the Jurassic Park betrayal, the one character at work stealing the files so he could go. I thought that was going to be the ending. I thought that he was going to upload the file and there's going to be millions of her being built.
They had the Aliens ending too, where she like hit the gloves together and controlled the robot. I was waiting for her to say, "Get away from her, you be."
But it was a child actor, so she couldn't say that, right?
Yeah.
Foul-mouthed children. Anyway, yeah, and then she gets the robot to fight.
Whatever. Foul-mouthed. That one kid said, "F you, mom," and then
no, he didn't say mom either. He's like, "F you, Sherry."
Yeah, he didn't even call him by his mom's name. And then the other girl slapped the mom like twice. Remember her aunt?
The child's acting out. Yes, she slaps her aunt because again, her parents
like
are
little
dead.
brats.
She's going through this trauma. No, but she's going through this trauma, and like I liked how they showed. That
I did
she
agree.
Wasn't willing to address
I like that.
And that's why this movie works better than Smile, because Smile's emotional core is like rotten, whereas this movie, it works better, but there's still more plot holes that I wish would have been addressed. And I feel like the movie could have gone either scarier or funnier. Like choose a lane or make them just a little bit more of both. Like make it a little bit more scary and make it a little bit more funny. I think we've had a really good movie. But anyway, like I said, some just genuine laughter.
Yeah.
I'm Titanium. Hilarious. The dolls singing every single time had me laughing. It was insane. Like the dolls singing, and it's like super, like the uncanny valley of it was so funny too. Like that was something that was funny. Like at the first time the child sees it, it's like like cowers in fear. Like, and you're like, oh yeah, this is supposed to be sold to children, by the way. Adults and children alike are terrified of this thing. But yeah, anyway, gosh, anyway, that's the only movie I wanted to talk about. Other than that, I do need to see Coherence, and I'm excited to see The Menu. I'm so excited to see.
Well, you need to see those two other foreign films we've been talking about too: Memoir of a Murderer.
Yes, I do need to see those.
Memoir of a Murderer.
Murderer.
And then what's the other one? Bedevilled.
Cameron, how about you, man? What else have you seen, dude? Or what have you seen? Because me and Jordan went to Megan.
For my film class, we had to watch the 1953 The Hitchhiker. I mean, it's like really slow, super.
It's not The Hitcher, right?
No, it's about a hitchhiking guy who like these two fishermen like are on like a road trip or whatever, and then he kidnaps them, and he's known for essentially like hitchhiking with people and then murdering them, and then like hitchhiking to other people and murdering, kind of like I Saw the Devil.
But it's not The Hitcher. That's so weird because
it sounds like The Hitcher.
It's not The Hitcher.
The Hitcher was probably based off of it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like inspired by it.
Oh, maybe that's the remake. Yeah, because it's Rutger Hauer and he's like chasing down this couple. Good. Yeah. Anyway, so you said 1950s film. Yeah, so it must be a remake then.
Yeah. I mean, like pretty solid film overall. Just like not really super my genre. Like the character, the killer was really good, but I mean, you can tell it was made in the 50s. And then I also watched a short for my film class called The Man Who Planted Trees. I was super tired in the class and fell asleep, but it was pretty decent. And then I watched, I finished Reacher. Holy cow, it's really good. It's essentially just like, it's the TV series, once it's all wrapped up, is essentially just Jack Reacher, the first movie, in 8 episodes. I just kind of realized that. I was like, oh wow, that was kind of just like a very similar plot to like Jack Reacher, the first one.
The show I think is better done, and it tells a better story than
really. Ooh, I'm excited.
Really, yeah,
the show's
loved
good.
It.
Yeah. I'm
Uh,
surprised you didn't see that one. I thought you saw that one, Jordan. Sorry, I would have recommended
It's one. It's one that makes me scared about the government, but and just like powerful people. It's just like I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I finished the rest of season 3 of Rick and Morty. Some really funny moments, and then some other moments where I was like,
season 3 or 5? What are we on now? 6?
Or 6.
Yeah,
6,
I think
sorry,
6.
yeah.
It felt like they were kind of pandering to these fans, in my opinion. I don't know.
I mean, Rick has I was like, wow, Rick actually has a soul, and then I'm like, oh wow, it's just
yeah,
clone. I was like, that's a little more on brand.
Oh yeah, that is on brand.
So I was,
which I'm definitely not a clone. If I was, I couldn't tell you.
What if I was? I'm gonna tell you. And then I also watched, because I'm on my Jake binge. I watched Velvet Buzzsaw, and actually I watched it all the way through, Jordan. I didn't just skip to the Jake Gyllenhaal parts.
What'd you think?
You love the Jumanji monkeys, Cameron? Those are my
so bad.
I laughed out loud.
That made no sense. There was
awful.
I think it's a great idea.
Yes.
I think
poorly
just
executed
weirdly. It was just like, it was because I couldn't tell. I feel like it was conflicting genres. It was almost like a
M3 again.
It was almost conflicting. It was almost like half drama. I love Jake Gyllenhaal's character. I mean, obviously he did an amazing job. I just think that the horror aspect of it, there were certain parts where I was like, "Ooh, that's really good." Like I love the tie scene where he gets like choked and stuff like that, and I was like, "Oh, this, like, that's really good," and kind of like a mysterious, like, is there something like bad? It's almost kind of like the aspect of like, ooh, there's something like bigger, like behind this, like really evil. And so I was like, that's a really clever idea. I just thought the way they kind of carried it out a lot of times, I was just like,
yeah. Well, Jake's performance though still was
amazing,
like always.
But yeah, I don't know.
No, and Toni Collette, it had such a great cast, and
yeah,
I was so excited for it. But
John Malkovich.
He was in it too.
There was just certain things I just wish, I don't know. I mean, and obviously I'm just not super big art person, but see, like, I was even impressed. They did a decent job of like somewhat kind of, I love how snobby the characters were. I just love how pretentious, fake everyone was. I thought it was beautiful. And that one chick, I love that when she got like her arm cut off, that they thought it was just like part of the fetching, like the art display.
Yeah, so like that right there was like my favorite part, and I just feel like it could have been executed better, because there were like some kids were walking all over the display and even jumping in the blood, not knowing it was actually not an art display but an actual crime scene. But it's like, I don't know, I just like, even talking about it now, I'm like, yeah, there's probably a way to make that like really pack a punch, but it just, for some reason, it wasn't.
Pack a punch, like guns from
and
zombies.
Pack a punch. I honestly thought it was a little
punch. Zack Snyder.
I like it was. I thought it was clever that her tattoo killed her, but it was almost like too on the nose and cheesy that I was like,
art can kill. Yeah.
I was like, and then like I just didn't really understand like the overall message. It's just like, you disobeyed like this dude's will, and it's just like, was the fact that he was crazy the reason that the art was coming after? Like, it was his demon haunting? Like, it was certain things like that I wish they would have just played a little bit more into the like psychological thriller, because like I love the scenes when he would see things and he's like, or even the guy with like in the car where he like sees somebody in behind, he's like like I love stuff like that where I'm just like, okay, and you don't, I feel like they tried to address it too much, and like it just made it
Cameron,
weird.
did you watch Triangle of Sadness?
Yes, you ask me this about every week.
I probably do, yeah. It's just, I think Velvet Buzzsaw, like, that's a more effective telling of this exact same thing. But even then, like, Triangle of Sadness isn't perfect. There's another movie, like, I'm thinking The Menu, even though I haven't seen it, it reminds me of The Menu.
Yeah,
like,
I think the Parasite. I think Parasite is the best of like just kind of showing the dangers of class. Yeah, just kind of like how you can get lost and like disconnected from actual reality being so high up.
Yes, love Parasite.
But yeah, I don't know. I wanted to like it so much more. Like there were certain scenes that I'm like, oh, this is so
know.
good.
Yeah.
And then it just like,
we know, Cameron.
The longer it went on, it was just like, and I was
it
just
got
like,
worse and worse.
Yeah. I don't know. There was just random things that I was like, I don't know if this is the best choice for this film, but yeah. But so that's pretty much most of what I've seen. And then the biggest thing on my watch list right now is just also I watched a little bit of what do you call it? New Girl with my wife. And then Triangle is on my watch list because Jordan recommended that to me.
It's like Coherence, which you need to watch.
Yeah, it's like Coherence on a boat.
Not the Triangle of Sadness. Sorry. Yeah. See, now I'm confused. I'm like, oh yeah. Gotta watch Triangle.
I was like, wait, you haven't seen it?
Dude, you need to watch Banshees of Inisherin, Cameron. That was good. You should watch that one, Cameron. I liked it a lot.
Is that the same director as In Bruges?
Yes.
Yeah. Martin McDonagh.
And it's both. Yeah, it's Donham Gleeson. Is that his name?
Yeah, Donham
Gleeson.
Donald
Gleeson.
It's like Domhnall. It's like DOMH. Domhnall.
Domhnall Gleeson and Mad-Eye Moody and Colin Farrell. So it's good. I liked it. That was a good movie. Thought about it. It's more impactful than a lot of the stuff I've seen lately. So,
all right. But yeah, that's about everything.
Excellent. Well, folks, this has been Future Hidden Movie Gems.
I don't get to share mine.
Oh, Jordan. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we talked about Megan. But no, what else have you seen, Jordan? Have you seen anything other than Megan and Threegan?
Well, I did a double feature. Oh yeah, and I watched The Whale.
Jordan,
and because I love Darren Aronofsky.
Oh my gosh!
I know Ty always gives me crap about it, but
I can't stand him, dude.
What has he done?
Like a
Requiem for a Dream, which is a masterpiece. The Wrestler is so good.
The least rewatchable movie of all time.
Which one?
It's less rewatchable than the Schindler's List. I'm just saying.
Which movie?
Now. The freaking Requiem for a Dream.
Oh, I've seen it so many times, Ty. You would not believe.
Yes, which explains to the world a little bit more about you.
I know.
Gosh, you just love torture.
I watched it with my wife, Ty. I got her to watch it. So good, so powerful, and it just, I feel like he really understands the subjects he talks about. And I loved Mother, Cameron. That was also another one he did with Jennifer Lawrence. And I know people joke that he wasn't writing it about Jesus. He was actually writing it about himself because he's so in love with himself.
There you go. That actually makes me love it more because I'm like, at least it's being honest. Yeah, at least it's being honest. That's exactly what it was.
And anyways, he's just a really good director. I love Black Swan as well. I mean, he dives into subjects that are really hard. Like, talks about this gay guy that's trying to eat himself to death because he lost his boyfriend. And it's just, it is powerful. I had a harder time connecting with these people because I'm like, that's a decision you made on your own. I mean, I know people that deal with.
Or doesn't like gay people. That's why.
I no. Okay. I just with giving kids money, like, I just don't feel like that's a good solution. Like, I know he was trying to make it up to his kid at the end.
Oh wait, he was gay and fat? I thought The Whale was
yeah, and the majority of the film is about he's basically a Mormon kid. He's not. He was from this New Earth or some other religion, but he was like dressed like, the girl even asked him, she's like, "Are you a Mormon?" He's like, "No," but he basically was, and he was a missionary, like trying to help preach the gospel. And I just, I don't know. I need to watch it again. I know maybe I'll feel differently.
No, you never need to rewatch a Darren Aronofsky fan or whatever. Dude, I was even texting you. Even his name makes me mad. Aronofsky. Try to text that.
What did he say in an interview that made you so mad? I forgot. He said something that really ticked you off.
Dude, it was him talking about Mother, I think. He was like, it's like an allegory. I don't remember what he said. It's like,
yeah.
Said something about like,
he comes off very arrogant. I get it, because he's really good at what he does and he knows it. So
is he good at what he does? Has he made a good film?
I think sure. So. I mean, Requiem for a Dream is in my top 100, so I'm just saying.
Oh, no, I will never rewatch that. Like I said, it's the least rewatchable film. I would rather watch The Road again before I watch Requiem for a Dream.
2 hours of punishment. I know. It's funny, at the beginning of Requiem for a Dream, I watched with my roommate, and he was like, "Oh, we should get into selling drugs." And by the end, he's like, "I don't want to sell drugs."
I don't want to sell drugs. Look at that. Oh, good job, Aronofsky. You changed someone's mind.
I know, right?
Although he never had the idea to sell drugs in the first place until he started the movie. Anyway,
I guess the hardest thing I had about The Whale was the fact that, like, the messaging was a little confusing because it just felt very much
you said
like
The Well. It's a whale. Yeah, whale.
Yeah, whale. So I felt bad, like
Utah accent.
I'm having a hard time with like this idea that kids believe that the message was like, he kept saying the whole time, he's like, be the real you, like, stop being fake, like, you need to embrace every part of you. Like, I don't know, I guess it is important to love yourself entirely, but at the same time, like, embrace every desire you have. Like, I don't know, I mean, you're speaking to a bunch of religious nuts here, so I don't know.
But hey, I'm a spiritual fruit. I'm not a religious nut, you freak. Don't lump me in with him. Don't lump me in with him. Well,
but
who knows? Why don't you go marry him then? So
yeah, I do need to watch it again to have just better understand where he's coming from. So
the guy's a nutter. He's off his rocker. He's making these dumb art house films that are stupid that
it was
aren't
so
even
cool.
poignant as he thinks they are.
He did shoot him. It looked like an old VHS film. Like it had a kind of grainy look to it, and the sides were cut. I loved it.
His face is so far up behind his behind, he can smell his own farts from there. So that is Darren Aronofsky, folks.
Yeah. But very well made. And then obviously Brendan Fraser's performance was unbelievable. So everything about it was like perfectly done. I just have a hard time with the messaging and understanding it. So
Darren Aronofsky, where he shines. Ambiguous, metaphorical, allegorical movies with artsy fartsy visuals, and
I love it.
You can still do a metaphor. Get Out is a great example. You can still have undertones and messaging, but still tell a cohesive story without just going full balls to the wall, artsy fartsy. Like,
The Fountain was the hardest film I couldn't get into. That was too far out there.
Darren Aronofsky, of course it is. Hugh Jackman. Oh my god, I hate that movie.
I don't like that movie either.
The Fountain. So I've tried to watch that 3 times.
I gotta hop off. I gotta take my dog out.
All right, we'll let you guys go. This is Future Hidden Movie Gems signing out. We love you guys lots. Thanks for tuning in. Stay out of trouble, folks. Watch less and less Darren Aronofsky films. The better off you'll be. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right. Darren Aronofsky.
That's how I say it.
Anyway, I kid, because have I ever made a film as good as he has? Probably not. Although I'm sure I made a home video that was better than his, I'm sure. Love him to death.
Is the movie Strike too close to home because he's just eats himself to
death? I haven't even seen The Whale, but I could have bet. Yeah, it's a story about me. It is me. I'll be like, hey, wait, that shirt looks familiar. He's doing a show about me. Now I'm in The Rehearsal, right? That's hilarious. Yeah, I find out that like Darren Aronofsky has like been watching me from it. It's like the reverse Truman Show. He's studied me and now portraying my life. Dude, Jordan, on the podcast live here. What if reverse Truman Show? We do a show about someone that's observing someone, stalking them, and then publicly displays their whole life. That could be a good show.
It's like The Following. Isn't that what The Following is? Christopher Nolan's Following.
No.
Yeah, he is. The guy stalking him.
He snoops in there. Yeah, but he snoops in to do a crime. It's a heist movie. This is like a movie like Truman Show, but it's like, what if someone was secretly following someone around to film all their private stuff and stalks them and then like makes a real movie out of it, and then they like leak the information of who this guy is, or the guy watches and he's like, that's my life.
And then Ty ends up in prison the rest of his life. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, I think it's a clever idea because we could talk. It's almost like a Nathan For You rehearsal / Truman Show kind of.
Ty's like, how can we stalk and break into homes? How many laws can we break here?
No, see, like, no, but like, see, this is the moral dilemma, right? I'm not saying we really do it. I'm saying making a show about characters.
No, you've been watching too much Nathan For You. He's messing with your head.
You're so dumb. I think it'd be a good movie, like watching a whole team and like, or like 1 or 2 guys that's obsessed with someone else's life, watches them, films the whole thing, and then recreates it, or like makes it a big
Ty's
movie.
Basement is already being recreated of this guy's house right now.
Oh my gosh, you guys are you don't understand. You don't understand me. I'm a brilliant genius. You shoot down all my ideas because you're involved in whatever you've got going on. So anyway, guys, it's been Future Hidden Movie Gems. If someone wants to make the movie, I suggest it. I will be happy to offer.
You guys can be cellmates in prison together.
Said it's the Truman Show, but like a movie. I'm not saying like real life.
Except we should stalk them.
Oh my gosh, I know. I said a movie about characters who stalk people. You think yes, thank you.
I thought you said really go stalk somebody and then learn about their life and make a movie about them.
Not really go stalk someone.
That's what it sounded like.
I said there's a story or a movie about someone who stalks someone else and makes a movie about their life. And it's a big time hit,
and it's
everyone watches this movie, and the guy's like, that's my life, you stole my life, and you like everything that was private in my life, you just complete. Maybe it already exists. I bet someone's like, yeah, that is literally this movie, and I'll be like, oh, I haven't seen it. So
yeah, there's not a lot of originality anymore.
No, there's not. Anyway, folks, this has been Future Hidden Movie Gems. Leave us an email.
Unless you're Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah, I don't want to hear from you. Although, no, I would appreciate. If he writes in, I will apologize and say, I'm sorry. I don't mean to attack you personally. I just hate your arrogance. Your movies are not for me, but hey, no harm done. So this has been Future Hood Movie Gems signing out. Peace.
Bye.
Door City over here.